So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most exciting and, frankly, one of the toughest industries out there, video games. We're going to look at how a game goes from just a spark of an idea to the thing you're spending hours playing, and what it really takes to make it in 2025. Let's get into it. Okay, be honest. Who hasn't dreamed of this? It's that classic fantasy, right? To build your own world, invent characters, and tell a story that millions of people could get lost in. And you know what? Today, that dream feels more within reach than it ever has before.
But, and this is a huge but, that brings us to the big paradox of making games right now. The tools to get started, they're everywhere. Game engines like Unity and Unreal are practically begging you to download them. But the path to actually succeeding, to making a living, man, that path has become an incredibly steep and very, very crowded climb. That's the challenge we're going to unpack.
So let's start with the heart and soul of the industry, right? The indie developers. We're talking about those tiny teams or even just one person pouring every ounce of their being into a passion project.
And this right here from the GDC report, it says it all. For most developers out there, this isn't some side hustle. It's a massive, all-in bet on themselves, with their own money on the line. Yeah, they get total creative freedom, but they also carry all of the risk.
And believe me, that risk is heavy. You hear indie game and you might think of something small, maybe a little cheap, but the reality is a professional-looking indie game can cost anywhere from $10,000 all the way up to $1 million or even more. We are talking about a serious, life-changing investment.
And what does that money even pay for? Well, it's everything. A tiny team has to wear every single hat. You're the game designer, the artist, the programmer, the person who has to find all the bugs. Then you have to be the marketer, the social media manager, and then after the game is out, you have to support it for months or years. It is an absolutely monumental amount of work.
So, faced with all of that, how do you even survive? Well, a lot of developers look towards the biggest market on the planet, mobile. It's a space with 1 billion potential players, but the competition is just brutal.
For the longest time, the main strategy here was the hyper-casual game. The whole idea is simple. Make a game so incredibly easy to understand that anyone can pick it up and play in 2 seconds. You don't make money selling the game, you make money by showing players tons and tons of ads. The whole business model is just a race to get as many downloads as humanly possible.
But here is the brutal truth of that model. Look at this. After a single day, about 70% of your players are just gone. Poof. A week later, you're lucky if you have 10% of them left. It's a cliff. This means you're on a constant treadmill, spending more and more money just to find new players to replace the ones who left.
So how did the industry fight back against this churn? They evolved. They created the hybrid casual game. On the left, you see a classic hyper-casual game. You run, you multiply, that's about it. But on the right, something like Pizza Ready takes that simple idea and adds layers. Upgrades, management, goals, stuff to keep you coming back. The goal isn't just to entertain you for 5 minutes, but for 5 weeks.
Okay, so you've built your game. You've survived all that. Now you got to actually get it to the players. And that means you have to go through the gatekeepers, the digital storefronts. And they take a cut.
And you got to get familiar with one number because it basically runs the whole show, 30%. That is the standard fee, the platform tax that almost every major player takes. Apple, Google, PlayStation, Steam. For every dollar you make, 30 cents is gone before you even see it. It's a huge factor in whether a game lives or dies.
On PC, this leads to a really tough choice for developers. Do you go with Steam? It's the undisputed king with something like 70% of the entire market. But you're paying that 30%. Or do you go with a competitor like the Epic Games Store? They only take 12%, which is way better, but their audience is so much smaller. It's a classic gamble, reach versus revenue.
So you've got these huge development costs, you've got the platforms taking their cut. You're probably asking, how does anyone make money? Well, the secret is to stop thinking about players as a single sale and start thinking about them as a long-term value.
And that brings us to this super important business term, lifetime value, or LTV. This isn't about the $10 someone spends to buy your game, it's about estimating the total amount of money a single person will generate for you over their entire time playing, whether that's from ads, in-game purchases, whatever. It's the whole picture.
And what's so wild is that this LTV idea completely flips the script, depending on what kind of game you're making. For a hyper-casual game, the LTV is tiny, so your only strategy is get millions of downloads. But for a deep, complex RPG, a single dedicated player might have a really high LTV, so your entire strategy shifts to finding and keeping just a few of those high-value players. Your whole business model is built around this.
All right, now let's talk about the real game changer, the one thing that's poised to rewrite this entire playbook we've just gone through, and that's artificial intelligence. This isn't science fiction anymore. It is happening right now, and it is moving fast.
And if you think AI is some far-off future thing, think again. A recent report from Google Cloud found that 90%, 90, of game developers are already using AI tools in their day-to-day work. It's not coming, it's already here.
Let me give you a really tangible example of how this works. In the past, creating one 3D object for a game could take a skilled artist days. Now, you can sketch an idea, have an AI generate a beautiful render in seconds, then have another AI turn that into a full 3D model ready to drop right into your game. A process that took days now takes minutes. That is a revolution. And it's not just about making cool art faster. Oh no. AI is sinking its teeth into pretty much every part of development. It's writing dialogue, it's composing music that changes based on what you do, it's powering smarter enemies that don't need a connection to a server, and it's even helping automate the soul-crushing work of finding bugs.
So this all leads to the one massive question that's hanging over the industry. Will these amazing AI tools finally level the playing field, letting tiny indie teams build the massive games of their dreams? Or will it just create a new kind of super developer, a giant studio that can move so fast and build so much that no one else can possibly keep up? The rules are being rewritten as we speak, and honestly, it's anybody's game.